Hey guys, Sales Royal Navy checking in. A lot of the time, people ask me, "Is it hard being blind?" And the answer is overall, no, it is not. Um, because I've been this way since birth. It's true what they say. You really cannot miss what you've never had. Now, there are people who have had degenerative disorders or who have had some sort of accident later in life and lost their sight, and I would imagine that it is a great deal harder for them. But for me personally, it really is not that difficult. With that being said, there are a few things, not having been able to see, that I have trouble grasping. That people that I mentioned earlier who had sight and lost it for one reason or another may not struggle with, or at least not as much as I do. One of them is shadows. I understand like the concept of shadows. I know they make like an outline where there is no light, like basically where a light source is being blocked. But up until very recently, I could not get a mental image of what a shadow would look like. Basically, the way I picture it now is like a gray or black cardboard cutout on the opposite side to somebody. Let's say I was standing facing a light source, so my shadow would be like a black or gray cardboard or paper cutout behind me, just sort of copying everything I do. You'll have to excuse my voice. I'm a little bit stuffed up right now. And another thing that's actually really hitting home for me right now is the concept of like pictures, like not transferring, like translating three-dimensional objects into two-dimensional pictures. Okay, I'm trying to pick up drawn art, and some of you might be like, why the hell would you want to do that? Like, you can't see, what's the point? Guess what? Beethoven was deaf, so why should I not be a visual artist? I'm not looking at doing this as a career. It's more of a like side project, I guess you might say. But one thing I've had a lot of trouble with is trying to figure out how to draw. Somebody on Periscope the other day suggested that I draw a cat. And if you know me at all, you know that I don't have any trouble picturing a cat in my head, what they feel like, their body shape, their fur. But it's like, how do I transcribe that onto a flat surface and still capture all the parts of their body? I'm still having issues with that. I think I'm making some headway, but it's going to be a while. But I will let you guys know. I'll probably let you see some of my art as it develops. So far, it's just been drawings on dry erase board that have been erased after. But I do plan on using a sketchbook rather, from here on in. And something else that has tripped me up. I have a sort of understanding of this now, but it used to really trip me up, was perceiving distance in a photograph or a painting. I was like, how can you tell that something is behind a person? I always gave the example of a painting, say, depicting a person standing in a field with a grove of trees in the distance behind them. How can you tell it's behind them if it's a flat surface? I basically had it explained to me that the farther away something is, the smaller it is, which makes sense because, when I've read books and stuff, if a character is up in the sky, they talk about, the buildings and the cars on the ground looking like toys. They look small, so that makes sense. And another thing, of course, this stuff is all for me personally. I don't know that any blind person would, any one blind person. I'm sure there are a few that would agree with one or another of the statements that I've made or am going to make, but obviously I can't speak for all of us. And this last one is, I can admit it is very silly, but I'm terrified of crossing streets. Okay, I know the idea, you're supposed to listen and cross with cars that are going parallel to you, and a lot of intersections have those beeping crosswalk signals now, but you always have those idiots that don't pay attention to the signs, and especially now that we've got all these really quiet car engines. I mean, it's scary. that's something I really need to get over before I get out on my own and start doing my own thing. I know plenty of blind adults who can cross streets without even, like, batting an eye, and I'm still terrified to do it, but it's coming. So anyway, this was kind of a short video. I just wanted to touch on some of the things that I personally find hard as a blind person. Again, if I can think of anything else to add to this, I will make a second part. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, feel free to drop them below in the comments. All of my social media is under Stell's Royal Navy. I'll leave links to my in the description. I'm sorry. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great evening, and I'll catch you later. Take care.